Good afternoon to all of our guests. Thank you for being here and making time. I just have a brief statement. I'm anxious to hear the testimony of all the persons before us, and I'm anxious also to explore this topic for as long as we can. I know that we've got a vote coming up. There's a privilege motion on the floor, which I'm told will be overriding the regular business, and so we may very well be called over there in about 15 or 20 minutes, and then, of course, coming back here. But I want to thank you for calling this hearing on this important topic. I appreciate your interest, as always, in bringing us together for a thoughtful conversation about how the Postal Service can chart, quite frankly, a better path for the future under new leadership. The Postal Service has an immense duty, as we all know, dating back to its creation, because it powers communities and businesses. It keeps Americans healthy. It reinforces democracy, and it bridges geographical, economic, and cultural divides. Importantly, its universal service obligation ensures, as we all know, that we have equitable access to prompt, reliable, and efficient mail services, whether you, as some of my constituents do, live in a county or in the city of Baltimore. Maryland is like any other state. Our interest here is just as important. With Mr. David Steiner starting his tenure next month as the 76th Postmaster General, this is our first hearing on the Postal Service since the departure of former Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. And I hope that Mr. Steiner hears the call, or heeds the call, that comes out of this hearing that many of us continue to echo over and over again, that his number one obligation is to protect the service that millions of Americans rely on to send and receive critical items, everything from financial statements and mail-in ballots to life-saving medicines and personal letters. In doing so, it's my strong opinion that he must defend also against any threats to the service's independence and ensure that the Postal Service remains a public good. President Trump has repeatedly questioned the independence of the Post Office and, in my opinion, wrongly suggested that its privatization or its merging with the Commerce Department is a good thing. I think not. And despite the Postal Service being a self-supporting independent agency, I don't think it's in our best interest to cripple it any more than it has been crippled. It has been pulling itself up for several years now. Some of us agree with the process and some of the things that are part and parcel of it. Some of us has not, but it's clear that it's got to remain independent in that regard, and in my opinion, never merged and never made to be a private entity. So to be clear, unilateral restructuring efforts would not only be, in my opinion, again, illegal, but could jeopardize the delivery of critical items, especially in rural communities and hard-to-reach areas where Postal Service serves as a lifeline to so many Americans. And by the way, let's not forget that our nation's first Postmaster General, Benjamin Franklin, advocated for the privacy of the mail, but never the privatization of the mail. So a commitment to security and privacy that our former Postmaster General upheld after refusing so many attempts many years ago to thwart his efforts are somehow compared to what we see today by efforts to allow DOJ officials that have no experience with the Postal Service, no idea, in my opinion, of its significance to Americans, and no real willingness to look for a solution. We've got to fight the efforts by those persons that want to, again, change it in somehow or another and risk what we've seen so far. Now, are there problems? There are. I mean, there are postmen out there who are still being set upon by criminals, who are being shot at, who have been stabbed, who have been robbed, who find themselves holding on with dear life to arrow keys to protect those keys so that those individuals can't go in and rob boxes of mail and hurt people in the process by stealing. There are real issues in terms of converting the fleet that the Postal Service uses. We've debated that back and forth over and over again. And there are real issues in terms of delivery. What is going to be the standard delivery time, and what happens with respect to first-class mail and parcels, and do we have real goals going forward for the future in terms of making this service even better? That's what I've been asking a lot of people, and a lot of people have been asking me, then why are we paying more money for the same service? And some cynically say, why are we paying more money for an even worse service? So the Postal Service, I think, clearly has to be efficient, reliable, and stable. How we get there is not any one person's fanciful idea. I can't pull an answer out of the sky and guarantee its success, but I think in having forums like this and discussions like this, where we recognize everybody is not on the same page, but where we are committed to making sure that everybody helps push toward a consensus, is probably the best thing that we can do going forward as we try to remedy those frustrations and make it clear that the Postal Service in the United States is not for sale and will not be sidelined and will not be weakened. So, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity again to join with you as we try to find some answers to so many things that beset us. And again, I'm glad that so many people have turned out to offer testimony today. And with that, I yield back.